Hi, I'm delighted to welcome you for another episode of Mindscape Matters, a channel to discuss mental health and more. I'm Dr. Mohan Raj. I'm a consultant psychiatrist based in Chennai, and I'll be with you as we discuss about various facets of mental health. Suicide is an action which is taken by a person in order to end his or her life. Suicide is a complex phenomenon. There are multiple factors playing a role. It's very difficult to explain from a single perspective. But I'll try to break it down in a series of videos looking at different aspects of suicide. Today, let us look at three common types of suicides as seen in any casualty department of a hospital. Before we jump into the topic of suicide, let us get some clarity about some of the terms used. A completed suicide is one where a person had attempted and succeeded in ending his or her life. An attempted suicide is one where somebody had made an attempt to kill themselves but did not die. There is a term you will hear called para-suicide, which there is no suicidal attempt but there is self-harm. We are not including them in today's discussion. We will talk about para-suicide in much more detail later. There is another term which we'll have to be familiar called intentionality. Intentionality is the amount of intent a person has. How intent is he in killing himself? Is he just having a death wish saying, I don't want to live, I don't mind if I don't get up tomorrow morning, or I don't care if a bus runs over me, or is the person has much more intent that he is actually looking at ways of killing themselves. So by their attempt itself, we will know how much is their intentionality. Another term we need to be familiar with is called lethality. There are multiple methods one uses, and the lethality will vary from person to person or the methods used. For example, certain medicines like cyanide are very lethal, whereas commonly prescribed medicines, the lethality will be very low. And sometimes the lethality for the same modality will vary, depending on like jumping out of a balcony. If it is from the first floor, the lethality is going to be less. The person might have a few fractures and might escape, whereas the person is jumping out of, say, 23rd floor, the lethality is going to be very high. So some modalities lethality varies, but some modalities the lethality is very, very certain. Today we are going to look at the three common types of suicide which come to an emergency department. The first one is a suicide due to severe depression. We had looked at what is depression, what is severe depression in an episode earlier. In short, a person with severe depression will have severe depressed mood almost all the time. There is decreased interest in everything. There is no ability to enjoy, and also might have guilt, and there is also ideas of helplessness, hopelessness, and worthlessness. These are the symptoms of severe depression. And one of the indicators for suicide is ideas of hopelessness. Once a person has ideas of hopelessness for a considerable time, then they might think the next logical step is suicide. So in a person with severe depression, the intent is very high. The intentionality is very high, and that is evidenced by what they choose. They must have thought about suicide for many days. They would have talked about it to their friends. They would have written about it on social media, which retrospectively everybody realizes, oh, person was talking about suicide, but we were not sensitive to it. And they would have researched the methods. They would have read on the internet multiple ways, multiple methods, and they would have also found out about the lethality of each medicine, because all the literatures are available, how many dose is lethal for even common medicines. And they buy it over a period. They probably pick up one prescription, go to different shops and pick up the medicine and accumulate. And they choose a time when they cannot be discovered. So usually if it's a hostel, they would try on a weekend when most people are outside, classes are not there, and they can be discovered only on a Monday morning. If it is at home, they'll wait for everybody else to go out to work and then try. And they also make it difficult to save them by locking the door or have 2-3 other barriers before people can reach them. So this will show their intentionality is very high, and many of them also leave a suicidal note, either saying nobody is responsible, or they might say a specific organization or a specific person is responsible. Among those who had severe depression and attempted suicide, many of them are able to complete suicide. Some of them are not able to complete suicide because of the modalities chosen, or they were discovered earlier by people and treatment was initiated for the suicidal attempt earlier. Another common type of suicidal attempt that we see is what happens after the exam results come out or when there is a breakup between two romantic partners. It's an impulsive attempt. Unlike in a depressive patient where there has been contemplation about suicide for a long time, here there is no contemplation. The person would be normal up to a point of time when there is bad news, either in the form of a failed exam or less marks in an exam, or there is a breakup from a partner. And the person does not know how to cope with this event, and suicide is the first response that they thought of. In an impulsive suicidal attempt, the intentionality is not there. When we come to lethality, the lethality varies depending on the modality chosen. If a person jumps in front of a train, the lethality is going to be very high. If they are jumping out of a balcony, the lethality will vary as we discussed earlier. If it's from the first floor, the lethality is very low. If it's from a higher floor, the lethality is going to be very high. And since there is no intentionality, the person wouldn't have gone around collecting a lot of medicines. So impulsively, they would have just opened the drawer and taken whatever tablets are available. So here again, the lethality will vary depending on what were the tablets in the drawer. They opened grandmother's drawer and grandmother's BP tablets were there, anti-diabetic medicines were there. So depends on what tablet, what was the amount, the lethality could vary. Another common type of suicidal attempt that you come across is that which happens when a boy is pursuing a girl and the girl is consistently saying no. The boy calls the girl one day and says, I am in the terrace of the college building and this is the 6th floor. Unless you say I love you, I'm going to jump from there. There are other people who call him. He repeats the same threat to all of them and he continues to talk to them until somebody goes and stops him. Here, it's very clearly a manipulative attempt. The person has no intentionality. If you compare a person with severe depression who attempts, those with severe depression will attempt suicide when nobody is around, whereas a person with a manipulative attempt will attempt when there are a lot of people. They need a lot of audience. Here they make it very difficult to discover or rescue, whereas a person who's trying in a manipulative manner will make it easy to discover, easy to rescue. For example, there was a college where a student had less attendance and the college did not give him the hall ticket. He threatened that he will kill himself if hall ticket was not given, and the college management did not take it seriously. He went to the hostel and collected students and started talking to them about this is a poison. He told the name of the poison. He said how lethal it's it. 5 gulps and the person will die, and continued to give a lot of information about the poison before somebody had snatched away the poison from him. There was another boy who tied a noose, gave a long lecture about why he wanted to kill himself when somebody stopped him and took him away. So here, if you see, they make it easy to be discovered, easy to rescue. There was another person who took 4 paracetamol tablets and called everyone and said, I have attempted suicide, got himself admitted and told his friends, please tell her also that I have attempted suicide. Now, if you are in a casualty, if you are a casualty medical officer, many of them will say that, oh, the people who attempt suicide are a big headache. Now, this statement comes because of the third category, the manipulative attempter who takes Small methods with very minimal lethality but will make lot of noise and trouble everybody in the casualty, whereas those with severe depression are either in deep coma because of the amount of medicine they have taken, or they have already dead and gone. So if you are a medical officer in a casualty, don't dismiss people with suicidal attempt as manipulators, because there are substantial number of people who are attempting suicide because of severe depression. So you need to take and look at everybody who comes with an attempt as a potential severe depressed person. In the earlier days, researchers who studied suicide were giving questionnaires to those who attempted and survived suicidal attempt to study those who had completed suicide. By the above discussion, you would have known that the profile of people who completed suicide, that is, they killed themselves successfully, and the people who attempted and survived are totally different. Now with the advent of digital media, we are able to do what is called as psychological autopsy. We are able to take the help of family, and with their consent, we are able to look at the emails they send to family and friends, the messages they send, their social media posts, and we are able to reconstruct their frame of mind for days and even minutes before the attempt took place. We will continue to talk about various facets of suicide in the next few episodes. Thank you for watching this episode. If you like this video, please tell 4 of your friends. Tell them there is a Tamil version also. Stay tuned because Mindscape matters. Bye.